Modern is scam. I should probably expand on this. It was the summer of 2019. The modern competitive scene had mostly recovered from Krark-Clan Ironworks decks ravaging the format. This caused players that winter to either really know the intricacies of priority holding and stacks, get a migraine, or to just pull a Brian Kibler and write F6. At this point, Modern was at a pretty interesting and fun spot gameplay-wise. Faithless Looting had not been banned yet, so Arclight Phoenix decks were abundant. Modern Horizons 1 was released in June of 2019, promising powerful new cards to be printed directly into the Modern format. Horizon Canopy lands, Urza Lord High Artificer, Force of Negation, our little own slice of Force Will, if you will, and other cards to boost strategies that were not as viable, like for instance Snow. Crap, ignore that. Modern Horizons would certainly bring joy to modern audiences until morale improved. It was fun for a while. Even Hogak Summer, which I will link to Ristic studies in the description for one of the best explanations of that format, was fun. Yeah, cards had to be banned, but in a lot of ways Modern Horizons reached for the sky and found a happy-ish median. Of course, this was until it was followed by Oko, Thief of Crowns, and Uro, and Fire Design, and a Pandemic, and Companions, and more Pandemic, and being stuck to just online play, and, well, let's just get out of that doom spiral. Then a few years later, Modern Horizons 2, Electric Boogaloo, was printed, giving us many of the now infamous evoke elementals in Grief, Solitude, Endurance, Fury, and Subtlety. For the most part, this was fine initially for the format. The most powerful cards at first were Urza Saga, Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, and Murktide Regent in terms of power levels. While we did have some issues with decks such as 5-color Money Pile, the format didn't really suffer that much. However, in 2023, we had the release of Lord of the Rings in Magic the Gathering. This straight-to-modern set gave the format two key pieces, the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters. These two cards essentially were printed to counteract each other. The One Ring drew cards and protected yourself, and Bowmasters punished you for drawing them. At Pro Tour Lord of the Rings, this would take center stage in the finals where Mono Green Tron would face down Rakdos Evoke, though the pet name everybody had for it was in fact Rakdos Scam, and would stamp itself as the best deck in Modern. While Tron would land the One Ring to essentially fog for a turn and refill their hand, Scam was more interested in the interaction of Evoke casting either Grief or Fury, then in response to the trigger cast Feign Death or Undying Malice, so that when the elementals would die, they would be returned to the battlefield to, specifically for Grief, take advantage of their enter the battlefield triggers. In the case of Grief, that was a Thoughtseize, and in the case of Fury, provide a large double striking threat as early as turn 1. Funny enough, it wasn't these interactions that were the most memorable from this match. It was an unassuming card, also from Modern Horizons 2, shocker, and Dauthi Voidwalker, that was out on the battlefield on turn 3, casting Thoughtseize to exile an Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger from the Tron player, and then casting said Ulamog by sacrificing the Dauthi Voidwalker.
Or maybe Ulamog. Or maybe that one. Or maybe that one. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Dauthi Voidwalker this weekend, we have seen some absolutely ridiculous things from this Dauthi Rogue. And remember, the Voidwalker, it's you play it. This is a turn 3 Ulamog, Cedric. With a cast trigger. With a cast trigger, oh my goodness. I mean, the earliest I thought you could ever play that card was turn 4.
That's what I thought.
But apparently, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
And Calcano, as far as I'm concerned, he kept a great hand.
Right.
His hand is awesome.
Yeah.
The problem is that it has Ulamog in it.
He had natural Tron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He not only that, he had natural Tron plus the tower to play Ulamog on 4.
Right. He had turn 4. Not good enough.
You know,
Not good enough.
Turn 4 Ulamog, that's like It's like kind of medium.
He's like,
medium.
I mean, and Jake doesn't know, right? He's gonna find out.
I think Jake's about to find out. I think we might
here we go.
we might see a smile from Jake in just a moment.
A fist pump?
We got a little bit of
Oh, there it is! Oh, you got it, buddy.
That's an opening hand. That's a hand right there.
That's a hit if we've ever seen one.
What a call by Paul Cheon and Cedric Phillips, and what a moment in Pro Tour history. Link to that video below, and about the 1926 mark or so is the time you want to get this amazing play. We were all Christian Calcano here. That's the same stank face you see when someone does something absurdly impressive in the NBA, like getting crossed over, getting dunked on, or like Steph Curry pulling up from half court and making it another day at the office. Just nasty. Granted, the One Ring eventually led to a more grind-heavy meta, and the addition of Up the Beanstalk just a few months later made it to where the format had to be adjusted, because sometimes Wizards just doesn't like to fully test their standard cards for older formats. Because why would you hire enough people to do that when you could just print sweet, sweet, cold cash for the father who definitely is not in heaven, Hasbro? Though, this isn't the point of this video, and more often than not, these decisions are not made by Wizards. They are made by the overlords to fund the rest of the parent company's subsidiaries. What is my point? Well, to steal from the movie Wall Street, scam is good.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
Modern is at its finest when we get to do broken things, quickly, and not when it drudges on and on with tiny incremental advantages that slogs the game out. Our best and most nostalgic modern formats are when we were doing something broken in a way the game didn't initially intend. A scam, or a confidence trick, is an attempt to defraud a person or group after first gaining their trust. Confidence tricks exploit victims using a combination of the victim's credulity, naivete, compassion, vanity, confidence, irresponsibility, and most importantly, greed. To quote the infamous movie Wall Street,
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
Granted, in this case, we are merely talking about it in cardboard/game mechanic terms. Greed is not necessarily good in the outside world. In fact, there are many examples, as I point towards the whole entire rest of the world right now, where greed is not good. But in terms of gameplay and Magic the Gathering, it definitely is. In fact, Eternal Magic formats are defined by this premise. In Modern, there are many examples of this. Tron casts 7-mana spells before you would expect to see them on the curve, while also casting cards, such as Thought-Knot Seer and Glaring Fleshraker, earlier than what their mana value would generally dictate, due to the lands that they play, in the Urza Tron lands, Eldrazi Temple, and Ugin's Labyrinth. Birthing Ritual decks play smaller value creatures early to hopefully be sacrificed into larger value threats such as Abhorrent Oculus through Birthing Ritual to take over the game. Landless combo decks, such as Goblin Charbelcher variants, avoid playing lands that are not modal double-faced cards, so they can win by activating the Charbelcher, all while having some of the best answers in the game to make it difficult to deal with their own win condition, and so that way they never hit a land when activating the Charbelcher. Domain takes advantage of not only the domain mechanic to cast 7-drop removal spells and a 12-mana Scion of Draco on the cheap, but utilize Leyline of the Guildpact to mostly make their threats untouchable with Scion, all while getting to play Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury, and Null Drifter in a scam-like package. Thanks to Consign to Memory and Doorkeeper's Thrall, these two cards can be used to negate evoke triggers and the sacrifice clause of Flage. Reanimator and Goryo's Vengeance decks are literally about putting large threats you generally cannot cast onto the battlefield without having to pay their cost. Threats such as Archon of Cruelty, Atraxa, and Grizzlebrand. And of course, Quantum Riddler, which has made its stamp here in the format. And of course, there are the spiritual successors to the original scam lists in the Blink decks, taking advantage of keeping Flage and Quantum Riddler on the battlefield while also just incidentally being able to play Solitude Ephemerate as key points to their removal suite. Affinity, thanks to, well, I wouldn't really call it recently unbanned anymore, but unbanned Mox Opal and company get to have insane turns where casting Kappa Cannoneer on turn 1 or turn 2 is realistic as a goal, all while having one of the most powerful backup plans in the format, with weapons manufacturing and Pinnacle Emissary. And while the results have been a slight downturn lately, Amulet Titan is still a deck with some of the most difficult to interact with lines in the game, or at least when you gear your whole sideboard towards it. It makes it difficult to keep a deck such as Boros Energy down due to the sweepers and removal you have to keep in mind to deal with their overwhelming board. Heck, Ruby Storm plays white now, simply to wish for removal pieces while they eventually storm off through interaction. Of course, one has to also mention Neoform decks here as well, considering Allosaurus Rider is a plan that may in fact be the greediest of all the decks previously mentioned. The modern format can be broken down into 2 key points. Be greedy with powerful plays, and have interaction for your opponent's powerful plays, all while trying to protect what you are doing in the process. You can do almost whatever you want to do in this format, as long as you follow those points in your deck building. Modern is at the best place it has been in quite some time. The metagame share is consistently spread out over 6 to 8 decks, and each tends to have its own time in the sun depending on variance and what people came prepared for from recent tournaments. They are all greedy in their own way. They all feel like you are getting scammed out of the game in one way or another. And to be honest, that's great. Modern is scam, and scam is good.